I don't think it's anything but greed that is creating it right now on behalf of the agents. And agents that do this, and I hate to say this, but I mean, how are they any better than a pimp? I have no respect for people who do that to young people. None.
Wow, how about that? Nick Saban, the head coach, the former head coach at LSU, and I'll bring that up for a reason because our next guest has a history with Mr. Saban, of course, now at Alabama. And our next guest is going to talk a little about that topic as we roll on here on the V Show. Bob Valvano with you. And Albert Elias is the head of the Elias Sports Management Group, and they are a very successful sports management organization that handles upwards of 20 NFL players, along with some college head and assistant coaches. And he joins us right now via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Now, I'll let you get into the LSU history, Albert, but I got to ask you, and I got to tell you up front, I'm not going to be a guy who's singing the praises of agents. I coached in college long enough to know that the problem comes 9 times out of 10 at institutions, not with necessarily the direct relationship of players and coaches, but the ancillary people, and they're not always people who have truly the best interest of the program or the kid at heart. And that's not to imply you or all agents, but there's a lot of moving parts, and it's not easy to manage all of them. So, let's get your reply to what Nick said, and then put it in a broader context of what really is the problem on college campuses. What do you think?
First of all, anytime you have that amount of money around, it's going to draw all walks of people, no matter what the industry it is. In this case, when you've got kids making that kind of money, you're going to draw some good agents and some bad agents. And, Coach Saban, he's adamant about it. Obviously, he lost I think that player was going to be a top 10 projected pick. You're going to be upset about that. I don't do it. I know a lot of good agents that don't do it, and that kind of stuff does go on. But when Coach was at LSU, when I got my start about 10 years ago, something like that went on. A junior player had ended up losing his eligibility. He ended up getting a law passed in the state legislature of Louisiana that said if an agent was caught or a recruiter or runner of an agent was caught doing that in the future, they could actually go to jail. So that's got some teeth to it. And I can just tell you, I represent a lot of guys at LSU. That doesn't happen anymore. And, what happened there is a bad situation. And it happened last year with the kid from Oklahoma State. And I have nothing but bad feelings towards agents that do that, and I feel it goes out to the players because they really don't understand what's going on with it. But that's the business I'm in, and as long as you do it the right way, I've always felt that if you start paying players or doing something there, what's going to happen when that kid becomes a Pro Bowler? He's going to expect something else. He loses respect for the agent. So it's not something I get involved in, but I'm glad to see more colleges at least being aware of it and making the public aware of it. That's a great thing, I think.
Albert Elias is the president of Elias Sports Management, Dallas-based group. He's got over 20 NFL players joining us here on the V Show. Bob Valvano with you. Let me ask you, what steps can be taken because that doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't.
No,
it's not. There's nobody that comes out of this a winner. So I can't imagine there's agents saying, "Oh, please don't reform it." I mean, if you're trying to do a respectable job as you talk about, you'd want reform that makes some meaning.
Absolutely.
So what kind of things can be done?
Well, what's happening now? You're starting to see more colleges, major colleges, have a legislature passed through the Attorney General. You have to be licensed with the Attorney General. I can promise you this, I've seen more of it this year than ever before. Now, people are starting to get caught. And once they get caught, and once those agents lose their license or go to jail, because it's not the agents giving the kids the money. I guarantee it's a loosely tied associate of that agent that's paying the money through the agent. And even though the agent gets caught, once they put the agent in jail or the agent loses his license for a year or two, you're not going to see any of that going on because it's not worth it. A lot of times you may go after a player that does that. I can tell you how many times players got paid that didn't end up getting drafted. Then what you got? You got agents giving money away for nothing. It's a bad situation. It's bad for the kid. It's bad for the university. It's a bad light on us. In fact, we're having this conversation about it. It's something I'm adamant about. And you got to have, like we have in Louisiana, you got to have some laws that are passed that will put some teeth in it, put the agents in jail, make them terminate their license, those kind of things. One or two of those, and you won't see it anymore.
Talking to Albert Elias from the Elias Sports Management LLC in the Dallas area, an agent for NFL players along with college head and assistant coaches. Let me ask you, as an ex-college coach, I mean, I think I can approach it this way. I mean, Pete Carroll, I've never met him. He seems like a wonderful guy, but
Right.
the fact of the matter is he left a program now in Southern California is in complete shambles, and he's a multi-zillionaire who's just marched on his life unaffected by what transpired there. How much of the coach accountability should there be, or how much of this goes on with the, if not active involvement of the head coach, the willing ignoring of it, and how much of it is the coach really powerless to prevent this? Where do you weigh in on that?
Well, I'm pretty strong on this point, and I'm pro-coach. I believe that coaches like Coach Carroll, Coach Saban, I can tell you not. It happened at Alabama with Coach Saban. He does not like agents. Okay, he has a good agent in the league that represents him. He doesn't let him on the campus. He doesn't like agents. So I can promise you, I don't believe Coach Carroll knew about that to that extent. Now, you can say, how do you not know? The car he was driving was not that kind of – you can buy those cars $225,000, $3,500 and soup them up. Sometimes people will do that for free just to get in with Reggie Bush. It doesn't necessarily have to come from an agent. So, as a coach, are you going to worry about where a kid gets a car from if it's just a souped-up old car? Or are you more worried about winning games? And I think if Coach Carroll would have known about that, I think he would have put a stop to it because they've got so many talented players at USC. Granted, he was a great player. That one player's not going to make a national championship, and it's not going to ruin a program. And Coach Carroll didn't know he was going to be at the Seahawks 2 years later when that got caught. Or that's the point. When that happened and when he was getting paid, at that point, Carroll did not know he was going to be in Seattle, so he didn't plan for it and then, intentionally say, well, he's getting taken money in 2 years. We're going to go and get 2-year probation. I'm going to get out then. He didn't have some plan for that, so I believe that he knew nothing of it. And it doesn't really need to come from the players. It needs to come from compliance. There's a whole office within each NCAA school that has, like you said, they got 7 people now. Major colleges, it's a lot of money. They have compliance departments. I think you're going to finally start seeing it cleaned up. The reason being is we're talking about it today. When was the last time we talked about something like this?
Well, I was going to ask you. That's a great point because I was going to ask you, is it just worse? Is it really gotten worse now, or is it just the same? And finally, we're talking about it. I mean, we just kind of those things we'd give a wink and a nod to, but nobody ever really took it head on. Is it a new era out there? As an agent, you'd know that. Do they look like they're taking this thing on more directly now?
This has been going on since I entered the business. I've lost top 5 picks to this kind of situation every year, but no one brought any light to it. The fact that you're bringing light to it, that we're having a conversation, that Coach Saban is saying what he did, that what's happened with Reggie Bush, the schools are finally penalizing themselves and taking achievements away from themselves. This will not continue to go on. You've got DeMaurice Smith now coming out about it against agents. You're going to start seeing whoever this was in these situations, they won't be in the industry anymore. And the guy from USC, the dude was in jail. I mean, what do you expect an ex-con to do for a player? I mean, that's what they do. They cheat. So you're not going to see the good agents don't do it. I mean, if they do, they got too much. It's not enough money to be giving a kid a player like that. You got 10 agents giving them money. They're only going to pick one, and they're always going to have their hands out. You lose respect for the player. So It's people, the fly-by-night agents that are getting into business. And the minute you have an example, and actually for my situation, the fact that we don't do it and we never have and never will, it really going to help me because it's going to get all the riffraff out and finally bring some light on it.
Well, I was going to say joining us was Pimp Albert Elias, but I guess I can't say that now, Albert. So
no pimp. You can't call me a pimp. Not in this area.